The morning light was a dull ache behind Alara's eyes. She woke up feeling like she'd been hit by a truck, every muscle screaming in protest. Her first instinct was to roll over and fall back into the sweet oblivion of sleep. But as she shifted, her right hand brushed against something impossible. The skin was smooth, delicate. She let her fingers graze across it, her half-asleep brain registering only the texture. She gave a little squeeze. In response, a soft, sleepy murmur reached her ear. MMPH. Her eyes snapped open. She whipped her head to the side, and her heart stopped. Lying next to her, tangled in her sheets, was Dr. Evelyn Reed, the undisputed legend of the political science department. Dr. Reed wasn't just a professor. She was an institution. She had a face that could have been carved by a Renaissance master. Deep, intelligent eyes, a perfectly straight nose, and a mouth that even in sleep held a hint of a smile. A cascade of dark hair fell across the pillow. Her figure was just as intimidating. A dancer's posture and an effortless grace that radiated a kind of fierce intellectual beauty. Other professors' lectures were seas of empty seats, the front rows a desolate wasteland. But for Dr. Reed's classes, you had to show up half an hour early just to get a seat within the first rows. The same guys who slept through every other class were suddenly front and center, bright-eyed and taking meticulous notes. It was the last week of senior year. Alara and her friends had gathered at a dive bar just off campus for one final goodbye. As the night wore on and the drinks kept flowing, the bar filled with the sounds of their class letting go. Off-key singing, heartfelt toasts, and the quiet sobbing of friends who knew this was the end of an era. Alara always thought she could hold her liquor, but by midnight, the room was spinning. She bailed on the party, stumbling out into the cool night air to make the trek back to her apartment. The gentle breeze did little to clear her head. As she shuffled down the dimly lit campus path, a woman in a white dress staggered past her, heading in the same direction. She was just as unsteady as Alara was. Alara was in no shape to play the hero, but as the woman drew level with her, she turned her head, her eyes locking on Alara's for a split second before her legs gave out, and she pitched directly towards Alara. "Whoa, hey, is this a setup?" Alara yelped, jumping back. The woman missed her completely and crumpled to the pavement. "Nice try," Alara muttered, feeling a flicker of smug satisfaction. Not falling for that. She started to walk away, but after a few steps, a wave of guilt washed over her. She glanced back. The woman hadn't moved. She was just lying there, face down on the concrete. With a heavy sigh, Alara turned back. She knelt and gently rolled the woman over. Her first thought was that she was beautiful, with a really nice figure. But when Alara lifted her into her arms, and her face came into the light of a nearby lamppost, Alara's breath caught in her throat. It was her professor, Dr. Reed. Her hair was a mess, her perfect face was flushed, and her eyes were hazy and unfocused. For a moment, Alara was completely mesmerized, the alcohol in her system amplifying the surreal beauty of the moment. She had to physically shake her head to clear it. "Dr. Reed," Alara said, her voice urgent. "Professor Reed, wake up." Her only response was a series of soft, incoherent mumbles. Alara looked around. The path was deserted. She couldn't just leave her here. With a grunt, Alara hoisted her onto her back and started walking again. Thankfully, as one of her most devoted, albeit silent, admirers, Alara knew Dr. Reed lived in the faculty apartments just north of campus. The moment Dr. Reed's body settled against Alara's back, Alara could feel the soft curves of her figure, even through her clothes. Dr. Reed's warm breath ghosted against Alara's ear, a faint scent of perfume mixing with the smell of whiskey, sending a jolt through Alara's system. The alcohol buzz faded, replaced by a surge of adrenaline. Alara felt like she could run a marathon. As they walked, Dr. Reed kept muttering something under her breath. "That bastard, he's sorry now." Alara couldn't make out the whole thing, and she sure as hell wasn't going to ask. Soon enough, they were standing in front of Dr. Reed's apartment building. The front door was locked, and after banging on the security call button for a full minute with no answer, Alara gave up. She looked at the winding emergency staircase, then at the sleeping professor on her back, and started climbing. Alara couldn't help but think that Dr. Reed's killer figure wasn't just for show. It had some serious weight to it. By the time Alara reached her floor, she was gasping for air. She slumped against Dr. Reed's apartment door, gently setting her down against the wall. Dr. Reed, wake up. Alara panted, shaking her shoulder. We're at your door. Alara called her name several more times, but she was out cold. Alara looked at her beautiful, peaceful face and felt a wave of pure exhaustion. All Alara wanted was to get her inside and leave. In a moment of drunken, desperate genius, or so Alara thought, she raised her hand and gave Dr. Reed a firm swat on the backside. Ah! Dr. Reed yelped, her eyes flying open. Seizing the moment, Alara launched into the fastest possible explanation of the situation. Dr. Reed stared at Alara, dazed, before starting to rummage through her handbag. After a frantic search, she produced a key. She staggered to her feet and tried to unlock the door, but her hand was shaking too much to fit the key in the lock. Sighing, Alara took the key from her, opened the door, and helped her inside. Alara's plan was to deposit her on the bed and make a clean getaway, but Alara was completely spent. As Alara leaned over to put her on the bed, Dr. Reed threw her arms around Alara's neck, pulling Alara down with her. Alara tried to get up, but Dr. Reed's grip was surprisingly strong. You think you can just assault me and leave? Dr. Reed murmured, her eyes now open and fixed on Alara's. Alara's heart hammered in her chest. Before Alara could react, Dr. Reed's lips were on hers. The softness, the warmth. Alara's brain went completely blank. Her sudden passion ignited something in Alara's own alcohol-fueled body. The rest of the night unfolded like a fever dream. The last shred of Alara's reason evaporated. Sunlight sliced through the blinds, stabbing at Alara's eyes. When Alara finally woke up and saw Dr. Reed lying beside her, Alara shot upright, her mind scrambling to piece together the fragments of the night before. Just then, Dr. Reed began to stir. Her eyes fluttered open, hazy with sleep, then sharpened with sudden, startling clarity. Panic flickered across her face before being replaced by a mask of cool composure. How do you feel? She asked, her voice as cold as ice. If you're done staring, turn around. Alara scrambled to obey, accidentally yanking the comforter with her. For one breathtaking, unforgettable second, Dr. Reed's entire perfect body was visible. It was a fleeting image, but one that would be seared into Alara's memory for the rest of her life. Alara heard a sharp intake of breath, followed by the rustling sound of clothes being hastily put on. When the sound stopped, Alara chanced a glance over her shoulder. Alara saw Dr. Reed's back and a faint red palm print just visible above the waistband of her jeans. Alara's handiwork. Still looking? You've got a lot of nerve. No. Alara spun back around, her face burning. Last night never happened, Dr. Reed said, her back still to Alara. You can go. The morning light filtered through her hair, making it look like a halo. Alara couldn't help but notice she'd missed 2 buttons on her blouse. Alara took a deep breath. Dr. Reed, I'm so sorry. I didn't mean for any of this to happen. We were both really drunk. Don't explain. She cut Alara off, her voice flat. And I don't need you to be responsible. We're both adults. But I want to be, Alara said, the words coming out with more sincerity than she expected. I'll take responsibility. You want to be responsible? She laughed, a short, bitter sound. Fine. One phone call to the dean's office about this, and your academic career will be over, and mine along with it. Is that the kind of responsibility you had in mind? That's not what I meant. Last night. Alara tried again, but she cut Alara off. No one cares about your intentions these days, Alara. Just go. From now on, we're professor and student. Nothing more. Her tone was absolute. But as Alara turned to leave, her eyes caught a small, dark red stain on the white bedsheets. Alara was almost out the door when Dr. Reed called after her. And if I hear that you've told a single soul about this, you'll find out just how bad the consequences can be. Alara didn't answer. She just ran. That afternoon, the bell rang, and Dr. Reed walked into the lecture hall with her usual confident stride. She was the center of the universe, every word and gesture commanding the rapt attention of a room. It was as if last night had never happened, as if it hadn't affected her at all. The only difference was the empty seat in the front row where a young woman who used to chase her dreams now sat in the back, trying to be invisible. Dr. Reed's gaze swept across the classroom, as if searching for someone. When their eyes met for a fraction of a second, she looked away first. Soon after, graduation came and went. Alara never saw Dr. Reed again. Reunion. 2 months after graduation, Alara was deep in the grind of rejection letters and dead-end job applications. To make rent, she started driving for Uber. It was a typical Tuesday night. She was parked downtown, scrolling through her phone while waiting for a ride request. Suddenly, a priority notification flashed on her screen. The notes read, "Pregnant. Need to get to OB/GYN, Lakeside General. Urgent." A sense of duty kicked in. Alara immediately accepted the ride and sped toward the pickup address. When she arrived, she saw a tall, slender woman leaning against the car, one hand resting on her stomach. The silhouette was so familiar, but her belly was gently rounded. She was clearly several months pregnant. "Dr. Reed, what a coincidence. I didn't know you lived around here." She turned, her eyes widening in disbelief. "Alara, what are you doing here? Is this you?" Alara asked awkwardly, holding up her phone with the Uber request on the screen. Dr. Reed shot Alara a glare. "I'm canceling the ride. You can go." She turned and started walking back toward her apartment building. But she didn't get more than 2 steps before she cried out, clutching her stomach and sinking to the ground. Her face was pale, and beads of sweat ted her forehead. Forgetting everything else, Alara rushed to her side, snatched the car keys from her hand, and scooped her into her arms. Alara saw Dr. Reed's lips tremble as if she was trying to say something. "Dr. Reed, whatever is going on, we need to get you to the hospital," Alara said quickly. "The past is the past." "Is it?" she murmured, a flicker of disappointment in her eyes that Alara was too frantic to notice. On the way to the hospital, Alara floored it, the sound of Dr. Reed's pained groans from the back seat urging Alara on. At the hospital, Alara stayed with her through a battery of tests, enduring a lecture from a nurse. "How could you be so careless?" she chided. "When she's this far along, you have to be more attentive. You're the husband, for crying out loud." Alara just nodded and offered a weak, embarrassed smile. By the time all the tests were done and Alara had the results, dawn was breaking. Alara went back to her room and found her asleep. Alara sat beside her bed, quietly looking over the chart. When Alara's eyes landed on the estimated date of conception, she froze. Alara started counting back the days on her fingers, her heart pounding a frantic rhythm against her ribs. The timing was almost perfect. 1,000 thoughts raced through Alara's mind as she watched her sleep. Alara checked the time, then slipped out of the room and bought some breakfast from the hospital cafeteria. But when Alara got back, she found herself pacing in the hallway, unable to bring herself to go inside. Suddenly, Alara heard a crash from inside the room. Alara burst in. "Dr. Reed, are you awake? I brought you some breakfast. Here, let me help you sit up." "Last night." "Thank you," she said, her voice formal. "Here, you should eat." "Thank you," she repeated. Alara sat down on the edge of a chair, feeling like she was sitting on a bed of nails. Finally, Alara just blurted it out. "Dr. Reed, is the baby mine?" She had just taken a sip of soup and choked, coughing violently. Alara jumped up and handed her a cup of water. When she finally caught her breath, she shook her head. "The baby has nothing to do with you, Alara. Don't overthink it. But the due date, it lines up almost exactly with that night." "My body is particular," she said vaguely. "It was just one time. It's not that easy to get pregnant." "I think it was more than once," Alara muttered, scratching her head. "I remember feeling half dead when I finally got back to my apartment." "Stop, stop, stop," she said, her cheeks flushing. "Don't say another word. I'm married, okay? The baby is my husband's." "Oh, okay." Hearing that, a knot of tension Alara didn't even know she was holding unwound in her gut. But it was followed by a strange, hollow feeling of disappointment. "Now stop asking questions," she continued. "You should go home and get some rest. You've been up all night." "It's okay, Dr. Reed. I'm not tired. I can stay with you." "I don't think you should be alone." "You don't need to. My family will be here soon. You can go." With that, she turned her back to Alara. Taking the hint, Alara placed her chart on the bedside table and left. The truth. As Alara walked out of the hospital, she smacked herself on the forehead. "Damn it, my scooter is still at her apartment complex. I hope it hasn't been towed." Alara hailed a cab and gave the driver the address from the Uber request. It was a high-end condo building in a beautiful, manicured neighborhood. As Alara got out of the cab, the security guard at the front desk, an older man with a friendly face, came over to Alara. "Hey, you're back. How's Dr. Reed doing?" he asked warmly. Alara was a bit taken aback by his concern. I'm just here to get my scooter, Alara said. Oh, it's over there, he said, pointing. So, is she okay? Alara looked at him, a little suspicious. Why are you so concerned about her? The guard, Frank, chuckled. Don't get the wrong idea, son. Dr. Reed tutored my boy a few years back, helped him get into a great college. We'll always be grateful to her. Alara's suspicion melted away. Oh, I see. I was one of her students too, just graduated. I was driving for Uber and got a ride request. Small world. She's doing fine, Alara added with a smile. Don't worry. Glad to hear it. It must be tough for her, being pregnant and all alone. Alara's brow furrowed. Alone? But I thought she was married. Frank looked confused. Married? I don't think so. Dr. Reed's lived here for years, always by herself. I tell you what, she's pretty far along now, and I've never seen anyone come by to help her out. If I ever find a guy who knocked her up and ran, I swear I'll. Well, you get the picture. His words sent a shiver down Alara's spine. Alara jumped on her scooter and raced back to the hospital, stopping only to buy a bouquet of flowers and a basket of fruit. But when Alara got to her room, it was empty. The nurse told Alara she had already checked herself out. So Alara turned around and went right back to her building. Alara found Frank at his post. Hey Frank, did Dr. Reed come home already? Sure did. Not long after you left. Which apartment is hers? Alara asked, her voice tight with urgency. Whoa there, what's going on this time? It was his turn to be suspicious. Alara tried to calm herself down. She left some of her papers at the hospital in her rush to leave. I brought them back for her, and I got her some fruit. Alara held up the basket as evidence. Well, I can give her a call and have her come down. As he reached for the phone, Alara stopped him. No, don't. She just got back from the hospital, and she's pregnant. The last thing she needs is to be walking up and down. I could just take it up to her. Frank studied Alara's face for a moment, then nodded. You're a thoughtful kid. She's in B apartment. You take good care of her, you hear? Alara stood outside her door, took a deep breath, and knocked. The door opened. Alara, what are you doing here? She asked, looking surprised. Are you here for the money I still owe you for the hospital bill and the Uber ride? No, that's not it, Dr. Reed. Here, these are for you, Alara said, handing her the fruit. Can I come in? I need to ask you something. It's not a good time, she said, blocking the doorway. But Alara wasn't taking no for an answer. Alara squeezed past her and into the living room. She closed the door with a sigh and followed Alara in. The second she was inside, Alara spun around and cornered her against the wall. Professor, Alara said, her voice shaking with emotion. You have to tell me the truth today. I'm not leaving until you do. She was clearly frightened by Alara's sudden aggression. Her face flushed, and her eyes flashed with anger and fear. Let go of me. What are you doing? This is completely inappropriate. Alara stared into her eyes, her voice rising. You're not married. You don't have a husband. Why did you lie to me? Is this baby mine or not? Because if it is, I will take care of him. I will be a father. She didn't speak, her eyes a swirling mix of emotions, as if she was weighing 100 different options. If you don't tell me, then don't blame me for this, Alara said, and leaned in to kiss her. Her eyes went wide. A fraction of a second later, a sharp pain erupted in Alara's mouth, followed by a blinding flash of light as Alara's head snapped to the side. The side of Alara's face was on fire. When Alara's vision cleared, she was sitting on the sofa, looking at Alara calmly. Feel better now? She asked. I'm sorry, Dr. Reed. Alara apologized immediately. I was out of line, but I need to know the truth. Please. Fine, she said, her voice weary. If this baby was yours, what would you do? I'd do what a father is supposed to do, Alara said instantly. I'd raise him. I'd provide for him. A sad smile touched her lips, cutting off Alara's fantasy. You don't even have a full-time job, Alara. You can barely support yourself. How are you going to support a child? Her words hit Alara like a ton of bricks, pulling Alara back to grim reality. Life isn't some fantasy you've cooked up in your head, she continued. It's rent, it's groceries, it's health insurance. You don't have a house or a car or any savings. Without a financial foundation, everything else is just talk. I wanted to say I would work hard, that I would dedicate my life to providing for them. But before I could get the words out, she spoke again. Whether this child is yours or not, I'm going to raise him myself. I'm not getting married, and I don't want you to bother me anymore. Go live your own life. Alara saw the finality in her eyes and felt a sharp pain in her chest. Alara knew she was right. Alara had no argument. Alara could only ask one last thing. Dr. Reed, why did you decide to keep the baby? You said we should just pretend that night never happened. She seemed surprised by the question. Don't get any ideas, she said quickly. This has nothing to do with you. You saw my chart, you know my medical history. It's not easy for me to get pregnant. I wasn't going to give up my only chance to be a mother. Now please go, she said, her voice softening slightly. Don't come back. I'll be fine on my own. For the second time, she kicked Alara out. Alara didn't know what to do or where to go. All Alara wanted was to go home, crawl into bed, and not think about anything at all. The shift. Alara walked out of her apartment like a zombie. As Alara left the building, Alara ran into Frank again. He took one look at Alara's face and grinned. She shut you down, huh, kid? No. You don't look? No. You look like your dog just died. Come on, you're sweet on her, right? I saw the flowers you bought. Red roses, classic. No, Alara repeated, trying to walk past him. Don't be so down, he said, grabbing Alara's arm. Look, I may just be a security guard now, but back in the day, I married the prettiest girl in my town. You want a few pointers? Alara just stared at him, speechless. He seemed to take Alara's silence as a challenge. You don't believe me? See that beautiful woman over there, having coffee with her friends? That's my wife. Alara followed his gaze and saw a stunningly elegant woman who looked at least years younger than him. That's your wife? Seriously? Frank puffed out his chest. Don't ask how. The point is, you want my help or not. I can't guarantee it'll work, but I can at least help you get on her good side. He leaned in and whispered a few words of advice in Alara's ear. When he was done, Alara looked at him with newfound respect. Alara thanked him profusely and told him she'd be back in the morning. As Alara walked away, Alara heard a yelp from behind her. Alara turned to see Frank's wife twisting his ear, scolding him for something. He saw Alara looking and gave Alara a pained, cheerful wave. The next morning, Alara was back at Dr. Reed's building, bright and early, knocking on her door. The moment she saw Alara, her face clouded over with annoyance. You again? Are you ever going to give up? Before she could say more, Alara slipped past her, holding a grocery bag overflowing with fresh produce. What do you think you're doing? Making sure you get some proper nutrition, Alara said, heading straight for the kitchen. I checked out your kitchen yesterday. It's way too clean, which means you order takeout every night. I may not be able to buy you a car or a house, but I can damn well cook for you. From now on, I'm your personal chef. Alara immediately started making a racket, washing and chopping vegetables. After a moment, Alara heard her bedroom door click shut. She was too tired to argue. A little while later, a healthy, balanced breakfast was sitting on her dining table. Breakfast is ready, Alara called out softly. Just leave it there, she called back, her voice muffled. And don't bother me. I'll get it later. That was fine by Alara. Alara went back to the kitchen, cooked and packed up a lunch and a dinner, labeled them with reheating instructions, and placed them in her fridge. Alara also took the liberty of throwing out a bunch of expensive-looking but long-expired food. Alara tidied up, took out the trash, and left without another word. A little while after Alara left, Evelyn emerged from her bedroom. She glanced at the breakfast on the table, a perfect, nutritious spread, but ignored it, having no appetite. She went to the fridge to get the half-empty carton of milk that usually served as her breakfast. When she opened the door, she didn't know whether to be angry or grateful. Everything else was gone. The only things left were a few pieces of fruit and the two neatly packed meals Alara had made, one for lunch and one for dinner, with a thoughtful note on how to heat them up. With a sigh, she went back to the table and started eating the breakfast Alara had made. Later that day, she took the lunch with her to work. The next day, Alara was back at the same time. This time, there was less hostility in her eyes. She still went back to her room without a word, but when Alara saw the empty containers from yesterday in the sink and the empty space in the fridge, Alara felt a surge of triumphant joy. This became Alara's routine. Every morning, Alara would show up, cook 3 creative and healthy meals for her, and then leave, never overstaying her welcome or trying to force a conversation. This went on for a month. Then one morning, Alara arrived as usual and found her door unlocked. Alara's heart leaped into her throat. Alara dropped the groceries and burst inside, yelling her name. Alara found her sitting on the sofa in her pajamas, looking at Alara with a bewildered expression. What is it? What's wrong? Alara caught her breath, embarrassed. Nothing. The door was open. I thought something might have happened. I left it open for you, she said calmly. You were minutes late today. Alara glanced at her phone, about to make an excuse, but then she held out a key. This is the spare for my apartment. It's the only one I have, so don't lose it. And stop knocking on mornings. You wake me up and you're bothering the neighbors. Then she turned and went back to her room. Alara stood there, clutching the key in her hand, her heart pounding like a drum. Alara knew that her persistence, her shameless refusal to give up, had finally paid off. It was a small change, but it felt like everything. The complication. But their quiet routine was short-lived. A storm was coming. Her ex-boyfriend, Alex Vance, returned from an overseas post. He came back successful, confident, and proud. And the first thing he did was visit her parents. They were overjoyed to see him. They had always thought he and Evelyn were a perfect match, a power couple in the making, and had been devastated when their different career paths led to a breakup. After learning where Evelyn lived, he showed up at her door the very next morning. Alara was in the kitchen prepping lunch and cleaning up when the doorbell rang. Evelyn opened the door, and her face fell. Alex, what are you doing here? He smiled. I'm back. Surprise. Then his eyes fell to her stomach, and the smile vanished from his face. Shock and confusion replaced it. I checked, he said, his voice rising. They said you weren't married, that you weren't even dating anyone. How are you pregnant? It was an accident, she said evenly. But Alex was growing agitated. He stepped forward and grabbed her by the shoulders. An accident? What kind of accident? You owe me an explanation, Evelyn. Evelyn flinched, trying to pull away. An explanation? I don't owe you anything. You cheated on me. Cheated? She shot back, her voice rising to match his. You broke up with me when you took that job in London. We haven't been together in years. Hearing the shouting, Alara came out of the kitchen. Seeing him gripping her shoulders, Alara immediately moved between them, pushing him back. Who the hell are you? Alara asked, keeping her voice level, but Alara's eyes were blazing. Seeing Alara only made Alex angrier. I could ask you the same thing, he snarled. Alara took a deep breath. I'm a former student of Dr. Reed's. I'm helping her out. Alex laughed, a cold, mocking sound. Helping her out? Or are you the father of that baby in her belly? His words were a knife to the gut. Alara wanted to scream, yes, but the word got stuck in her throat. Just then, Evelyn stepped out from behind Alara, linked her arm through Alara's, and smiled sweetly at Alex. Yes, she said. He is. Her words filled Alara with a sudden, fierce confidence. That's right, Alara said, standing taller. Evelyn is with me now. I don't care what you were to her before, but right now, I need you to leave. Losing control completely, Alex swung his hand and slapped Evelyn across the face. You shameless bitch, he roared, sleeping with one of your students. I'll ruin you. I'll make sure you never work in this city again. A white-hot rage exploded inside Alara. She kicked Alex hard, sending him stumbling out the door. She was about to go after him when Evelyn cried out from behind her. Alara, the baby. My stomach, it hurts so much. Alara spun around. Evelyn's face was chalk white and covered in a cold sweat. Panic seized Alara. She scooped Evelyn into her arms and, ignoring the elevator, bolted for the stairs. Alex, recovering from Alara's kick, ran after them. Alara's car's downstairs, getting quick. In the car, Evelyn's condition worsened. She was trembling uncontrollably, and blood was soaking through her dress. Her eyes rolled back in her head as she lost consciousness. Alara's heart felt like it was being squeezed in a vice, choked with fear and self-loathing. At the hospital, Evelyn was rushed into an emergency room. Alex and Alara sat in the sterile hallway, waiting in agonizing silence. Finally, the door swung open, and a nurse rushed out. The fetus isn't viable, she said urgently. We need to perform an emergency DC. Which one of you is next of kin? I need a signature. Alex snatched the clipboard from her, but he just stared at the consent form, his hand frozen. Alara shoved him aside, grabbed the pen, signed her name, and handed it back to the nurse. The anger she had been suppressing all morning finally boiled over. She grabbed Alex by the collar and slammed him against the wall. I don't care who you are, or what you were to her. Alara snarled, her voice low and dangerous. I want you to get out of here now. Get the hell out of my sight. Alara punctuated the sentence with a hard punch to his gut. He doubled over, but then he started to laugh, a wild, unhinged sound. It's over now, he gasped, pushing Alara away. The baby's gone. Your only connection to her is gone. You have nothing. Evelyn will be mine. He straightened his shirt, smiled, and walked away. After what felt like an eternity, the emergency room doors opened again. A doctor came out, his face grim. The patient is stable, but I'm afraid we lost the pregnancy, he said gently. Given her pre-existing medical conditions, this trauma means it's highly unlikely she'll be able to conceive again. Evelyn remained unconscious for a long time. When she finally woke up and learned the baby was gone, her eyes became hollow and empty. She cried silently, refusing to speak. All Alara could do was sit by her bed, holding her hand, trying to offer what little comfort she could. For the next few days, Alex would show up with extravagant gifts, exotic foods, and expensive supplements. Evelyn never acknowledged him, but she never told him to leave, either, so Alara couldn't throw him out. On the 5th day, Alex arrived looking impossibly handsome, holding an enormous bouquet of roses. Alara was about to tell him to get lost when Evelyn spoke for the first time in days. She asked Alara to leave them alone. Alara turned and walked out of the room, her heart a leaden weight in her chest. Alara sat on a bench in the hallway for what felt like hours. Finally, seeing that it was nearly lunchtime, she left the hospital. The afternoon sun was blinding. Alara walked aimlessly, her mind filled with images of Evelyn and Alex together, a profound sense of despair washing over her. When Alara returned to the hospital with her lunch, Alex was gone. Alara continued to care for Evelyn, and she didn't refuse Alara. Alex never came back. Days turned into weeks, and Evelyn's body slowly began to heal. On the day she was discharged, Alara was there early to handle the paperwork. They walked out of the hospital together. The sun was shining, but Alara felt no warmth. The silence between them on the drive home was thick and heavy with unspoken words. When they got to her apartment, Alara stopped at the door. Evelyn turned, a question in her eyes. What is it, Dr. Reed? The baby's gone now, Alara said, unable to meet her gaze. I couldn't protect you. I don't have any right to be here anymore. Were you only here for the baby, Alara? She asked softly. Of course not. Alara burst out. I've had a crush on you since I was a sophomore. After all this time we've spent together, how could I not have feelings for you? But I'm not good enough for you, not anymore. Do you love me? She asked, taking a step closer. Yes, Alara said without hesitation. I love you. I'd do anything for you. She didn't say a word. Instead, she grabbed Alara's arm, pulled her inside, and slammed the door behind them, pinning Alara against it. Alara was so stunned she couldn't move. Before she could process what was happening, her lips were on Alara's, firm and demanding. When she finally pulled away, she looked Alara straight in the eye. Whether or not you're good enough for me is my decision to make. And right now, she said, a small triumphant smile playing on her lips, I'd say we're even. She then turned, humming a little tune, and disappeared in her bedroom. Alara stood frozen in place, the warmth of her lips still lingering on Alara's, her heart thundering in her chest. A moment later, her head peeked out from the bedroom doorway, her cheeks flushed. Well, silly, what are you waiting for? From that day on, they built a life together. They cooked together, cleaned the apartment together, watched movies on the couch together. They fell into a messy, beautiful rhythm. Their love grew stronger every day, and after overcoming more obstacles than Alara could count, they finally found their way. Alara invited her entire graduating class to their wedding. Alara's best friends couldn't believe it, loudly proclaiming that a rose had been planted in a pile of cow dung. Alara could see the envy in the eyes of every guy from their graduating class. The path to love had been confusing and painful, but in the end, they found where they belonged. Alara promised herself she would cherish this improbable, hard-won love and spend the rest of her life with her professor. And strangely enough, a year after they were married, Evelyn got pregnant again. All Alara can say is she must have some kind of magic touch. Apparently, Alara specializes in curing infertility.